Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is Prophets of Awakening. This is our Israelite Advanced Bible Study Night, 27th of August, 2024. Okay, the title inside the class is Uncovering the End Times, dealing with some scriptures that uh, was kind of hidden from us that was pertaining to the end times. I want to shine light on. Okay, you can go to the Prophets of Awakening to our YouTube channel. Check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos with a lot of information that you can check out, examine, connect the dots. And these videos will lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'd be greatly appreciated. Okay, our hours of operation that we're on YouTube when we live is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 7 to 9 Central Time, p.m. And Friday nights we're on from 7 to 9, but we're on Clubhouse. And the room title of the room is Non-Messianic Conversations. And then we come back every Shabbat with two classes, one in the morning from 10 to 12 a.m. Central Time. Then we close the Shabbat out for about an hour. It's 6 to 7 p.m. in the evenings. Okay. We have our cash app at the bottom of the screen for those people that appreciate the channel and feel the need to support it. Okay. For those that don't know, this is a non-Messianic channel. We deal with Tanakh and the Torah. Tanakh being the Old Testament, so-called Book of Remembrance. And the Torah is the first 5 books of the Old Testament that was given to Moses by our Lord of Hosts, our Redeemer and our Deliverer. Shalom and welcome to this channel, and welcome to our Israelite Advanced Bible Study. Okay, we're gonna do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, read the Psalms. We have some current events, some need to know information. And then we'll open it up for a Q&A for anybody that have any comments, questions, or anything they want to talk about. Okay. Then we'll go into our lesson, which is, like I said earlier, uncovering the end times through scriptures and some of these hidden books that was taken away from us. Okay. So with that being said, this moment of silence is for the Lord of Hosts and all that He's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. So Lord, we come this day, bow down and honoring you, praising you, and believing in you. And we thank you for your wisdom and knowledge that you have poured out upon us. And we see you now within the Holy Scriptures, oh Lord, and we trust you with all our heart and all our soul, keeping not that silence any longer, for we are in the last days. Shine forth on our enemies with our great power and our great glory. Be unto you. Okay. So with that being said, I'll read a psalm. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna read Psalms 52. It's caution to the prideful wicked. Why boastest thou thyself in mischief, O mighty man? The goodness of God endureth continuously. The tongue deviseth mischief like a sharp razor working deceitfully. Thou lovest evil more than good, and lying rather than to speak righteousness. Selah, thou lovest all devouring words. O thou deceitful tongue, God shall likewise destroy thee forever. He shall take thee away and pluck thee out of thy dwelling place and root thee out of the land of the living. Selah, the righteous also shall see and fear and shall laugh at him. Lo, lo, this is the man that made not God his strength, but, okay, in a minute, that maketh it in abundance of his riches and strengthen himself in his wickedness. But I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the mercy of God forever and ever, and I will praise thee forever, because thou hast done it. And I will wait on thy name, for it is good for thy saints. So that was Psalms 52, and the caution to the prideful wicked. And so it's one of the examples I was talking about with when I told you how they uh, gave words another meaning than they originally was. And so, like I said, wicked. You would assume that, like I said, wickedness is somebody that's sinning and doing all this. But you notice in verse 1 it says, "Why boastest thou thyself in mischief, O mighty man?" So what's a mighty man? Mighty man is, you get a mighty man when an angel come down and mate with a woman. That's how you get a mighty man. So this ain't the same. Like I said before, this ain't the same. This man here ain't come from no Adam. He's part man, but he got angelic DNA in him too. So he's not Adam sinless. So it ain't no one blood. And then, like I said, when you get that, they don't have no their mind, different mindset, different DNA. They're not trying to learn how to do with the scriptures. You have to understand that Goliath is a prime example. Okay. Any comment? Question? Okay. So we'll go to some current events. Okay. Give me a minute. Get acting up. Okay.
We need to go ahead and talk about something that we never thought would actually happen again. We are talking about lockdowns, guys. Can you hear me? Yes, we are on the verge of having more lockdowns once again, just when we thought that we would never have to face those particular times ever in our lifetime. You guys know what I'm talking about. Back in 2020, where the world was pretty much infected with the COVID-19 virus, which pretty much caused major lockdowns across the United States as well as other countries as well. And here we are again in August of 2024, faced with more lockdowns across multiple cities. Check this out right here, where Massachusetts, multiple towns are now dealing with what they're calling a rare mosquito virus. Yes, this is known as the rare Eastern equine encephalitis mosquito virus. According to state officials, they announced last week that a man in his 80s had caught the deadly disease, the first human case found in Massachusetts since the year of 2020. You guys, I know this brings back horrible memories. We do not want to talk about this ever again, but unfortunately, we do need to face what is going on right now, and we pretty much need to start preparing. Yes, you can see right here in this particular video that is showing you that this particular man was the first of its kind introduced with this particular virus that is carried around by these mosquitoes, in which an 80-year-old man or older than 80 years old ended up catching it and died from this mosquito virus. Now, multiple states across the United States are reporting West Nile virus. Yes, and this new warning over the mosquito-borne illnesses is making its rounds all across the country. Yes, they are saying that this is a rare but deadly disease spread by mosquitoes, has one particular town in Massachusetts closing its parks, its fields, every single evening. What they are saying, this is a national curfew that is going on right now. 4 other towns are urging people to avoid going outdoors at night. They're concerned about the Eastern equine encephalitis, according to the state health officials announced last week about this man that died. The town of Plymouth, about 40 miles southeast of Boston, announced Friday that it's closing public outdoor recreation facilities from dusk until dawn each day after a horse in the town was infected with this disease. Apparently, the horse got bitten by a mosquito. Yes, guys, this is pretty rare, if you would believe. We haven't really heard anything like this since the West Nile virus, killing a few people, not that many, but this is known as a rare virus where 30% mortality has been detected in Hudson Valley. 4 U.S. towns implement voluntary lockdowns. I'm not necessarily sure how a voluntary lockdown actually happens, but they're saying that we would encourage you guys to go ahead and lock yourselves down. Lock yourselves up in your house. Do not go outside at nighttime, because that is when these mosquitoes actually come out the most. So therefore, they are allowing American people to choose when they can lock themselves down. Hopefully it is during the night hour, because of this rare deadly virus that is capable of infecting humans with a staggering mortality rate of 30%, which has been detected across multiple counties in Hudson Valley and surrounding states. Also, it says that the man is largely unknown to the public until now, as of a few weeks ago, has already infected its first victims, a horse in Orange County, New York, and an elderly man in Massachusetts. So yes, guys, this is not just for humans, it is also particularly for animals. If a horse ends up getting this virus, obviously your pets, your dogs, maybe a squirrel can be infected by this virus as well. So you definitely need
beware of day trading options. It's one of the...
Okay, any comments on that? About heard anything about that? Okay. Got another one here.
If we say that the US dollar is no longer than the reserve and international currency, well, it might be hard to believe, but the truth has changed. Now, the Chinese yuan is becoming an international currency, being adopted by various countries for trade. This is because of BRICS, where the founding members are increasingly using the Chinese yuan for cross-border trade. In other words, countries are ditching dollars to avoid being bullied by sanctions. This is proving U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen's words right when she said sanctions are causing de-dollarization. Just now, we have got the news that the Chinese yuan has left the US dollar behind in being used in trade, surpassing by 2.5%. China and Russia, the 2 most important BRICS members, have joined hands to make yuanization a reality. What does that mean, and is it the official end of the US dollar? In this video, let's find out. So, what has happened? Well, China and Russia have created a master strategy to replace the dollar by giving the world a living example. China has made significant efforts to promote the use of the Chinese yuan in international trade, particularly in Russia, where the yuan has overtaken the US dollar as the most traded currency. The reason why Russia was chosen to show how the yuan can be used for all kinds of trade is to show how sanctioned countries by the West can continue trade if they choose the yuan over the US dollar. Under Xi Jinping's leadership, China has been persistent in persuading Russia to use the yuan for all trade transactions. As a result, many developing countries are now conducting transactions with Russia using the Chinese yuan and the Russian ruble. Now what BRICS needs is to expand this strategy to all its member countries and then those countries which trade with BRICS. And given China's role as the world's largest exporter, every country in the world will be encouraged to use the Chinese yuan to settle payments. Russia began fully accepting the Chinese yuan for payments after the US imposed sanctions on its economy in February 2022. Since then, other developing countries, including BRICS members like India and Brazil, have also started using the yuan for their trade, especially for commodities like crude oil. For example, India saved $7 billion in currency exchange fees by using the yuan instead of the US dollar to purchase oil at discounted rates.
Okay.
Between 2023 and 2024, the Chinese yuan accounted for 42% of all international transactions initiated in Russia, while the US dollar represented 39.5% of all cross-border settlements. This represents a 2.5% decline in the use of the US dollar, making the yuan the most used currency in Russia during 2023 and 2024. China and Russia are leading the global movement towards de-dollarization. This strategy appeals to developing countries because it strengthens their local currencies and their domestic economies. According to Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexei Overchuk, around 92% of trade transactions between Russia and China are now carried out in Russian rubles and Chinese yuan. Speaking at the BOA Forum for Asia in Hainan Province, Overchuk also expressed Russia's intention to deepen financial ties with other countries and replace the US dollar in international trade to ensure the stability and security of local currencies. Back in July 2023, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that over 80% of trade between Russia and China was conducted in rubles and yuan. The bilateral trade between China and Russia continues to flourish, reaching $240.1 billion in 2023, a 26.3% increase from the previous year, with energy being a key driver of this trade. But what about the use of the Chinese yuan in international trade around the world? Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more.
So as you can see, based on this information, a couple of years ago, a year ago, it was unheard of that, you think the dollar would go down like this, but this Chinese yuan is trading more, they're doing more trading in the Chinese yuan than they are the dollar. So that's a big sign right there. And now that they got that going, play this video right here. Okay. This the dagger right here.
These mushrooms make you feel no longer a secret that one of the major goals of the BRICS alliance is dethroning the dollar. Since 2022, after the US freezed all Russia's assets as a result of the Russian-Ukrainian war, Russia, together with other members of the BRICS group, has been pushing the de-dollarization campaign to ensure that the dominance of the dollar is completely eliminated, and also to reduce the economic power and weapon of the US in terms of sanctioning other countries that do not fall in line with its agenda. As part of the de-dollarization campaign, BRICS have been encouraging countries around the world to ditch the dollar and use local currencies for international trade. And guess what? A lot of countries, including India, China, Egypt, and Iran, have adopted this policy. However, BRICS, with Russia at its head, has decided to take the de-dollarization campaign a notch higher. This time, BRICS wants to destroy the powerhouse of the dollar. Have you ever asked yourself, why is it that the dollar is the most dominant currency in the world? Why is it the top currency used in bilateral trade? What gives the dollar so much dominance? The answer to these questions is what we mean by the powerhouse of the dollar, and that is the petrodollar economy. It is this economy that BRICS plans to destroy, and if it happens, will cripple the dominance and the hegemony of the dollar. So, what is the petrodollar economy? What will happen to the dollar if the petrodollar economy is destroyed? Let's find out. On the 17th of March 2024, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that if oil producers in the Middle East stop using the US dollar, it will be the end of the dollar. Putin's statement says a whole lot that we are about to uncover. But most importantly, it reveals the step taken by BRICS to shut down the powerhouse of the dollar. Before we talk more on the move made by BRICS, let's first talk about the petrodollar economy and how it lowers the US dollar's dominance in international trade. In simple terms, the petrodollar is the commitment or agreement made by Saudi Arabia as the leader of the Middle East and the second largest oil producer in the world to conduct all oil trade in dollars. You can also see it as the deal made by Saudi Arabia to use dollar revenues from oil sales to the United States to buy US treasuries. Let's dive deeper. During the early 1970s, the United States was beset by high inflation and large current account deficits amid an ongoing war in Vietnam, putting downward pressure on the dollar and threatening a run on US gold reserves. This was during the Nixon administration. In 1971, the United States ended the dollar's convertibility to gold, which had been the linchpin of the Bretton Woods international monetary system of fixed exchange rates. Then, in 1973, major currencies began to float against each other. Added to this was the oil shock when the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, cut oil production and embargoed shipments to the United States during the Yom Kippur War. Against this backdrop of great economic uncertainty, the U.S. decided to embark on a diplomatic mission to Saudi Arabia. The mission was to cement an economic partnership with Saudi Arabia, which has been the central to the global energy trade. During the mission, the U.S. encouraged Saudi Arabia to use the dollar as the medium of exchange for its oil sales, which will funnel those dollars back to the Treasury bond market to help the U.S. fiscal deficits. In return, the U.S. promised to supply military equipment to Saudi Arabia and protect its national security. Surprisingly, despite the uncertainty and instability in the United States at the time, Saudi Arabia agreed to the deal and the dollar started to gain its dominance. In addition to keeping demand for the dollar stable, the agreement promoted its use in oil and commodities trading, while creating a steady source of demand for U.S. treasuries. As you can imagine, this helped to strengthen the dollar's position as the world's key reserve, financing, and transactional currency. So, you can see how the dollar became the dominant currency. Now, instead of focusing on its economy and minding its business, since it gained dominant status, the U.S. has used its dominance in international trade as a weapon and political tool to enforce its ideas and principles around the world. And any country that seems to have a different idea is shunned, its leader tagged a dictator, and the country is sanctioned. As we already said, the sanction is very effective because the reserve currency of the world is the dollar. A lot of countries, including China and Russia, as well as several African countries, have suffered as a result of these sanctions. Not only did the U.S. economic dominance allow it to sanction other countries' economies, it also allowed it to break international laws with no consequences. One bone of contention between members of BRICS and the creator of the current global system is the hypocrisy of the United States.
I've almost, although I still do whenever it's
States, which has manifested over and over again through continuous violations of international law and their use of violence. In 2003, the Bush administration invaded Iraq. However, that invasion was a violation of the basic tenets of the Security Council, which set a precedent that state sovereignty was only applicable to states that consented to the LEIO. In the 1980s, the United States ignored the verdict of the International Court of Justice to pay reparations to Nicaragua for illegally mining its harbors. These are, however, just a few examples of how the United States has violated international laws and committed crimes against humanity, all in the name of protecting their interests. Yet the United States has never been sanctioned for it, and neither has it paid for it. All these while, lots of countries have raged at the hegemony of the US, but not much has been done about it until the recent sanction against Russia by the United States. Following its invasion of Ukraine in 2022, the United States exercised its economic power again and imposed stringent sanctions on Russia. The US freezed Russia's reserve currency, which is the dollar, restricted its key imports, and locked the country out of the SWIFT international banking system. Since the sanctions were imposed, Russia has been reeling under severe economic pressure as the inflow of funds through direct trade has dried up. But the sanctions made countries around the world begin to realize that if it could happen to Russia, then it could also happen to them. So, the push for destroying the dominance of the dollar began to intensify. Russia has been at the forefront of this campaign, and as we said earlier in this video, Russia intends to take the de-dollarization campaign a step further. As we also said earlier, the powerhouse of the US is the petrodollar economy, so if that is destroyed, the dominance of the dollar will be crippled. Given this, Russia has called for countries in the Middle East to stop accepting the US dollar for oil payments. He has urged oil-producing countries, including BRICS nations Egypt and the UAE, to not accept the US dollar for oil payments. According to President Putin, the Middle East has the power to end the US dollar's global dominance through oil and gas. This is why he said that if oil producers in the Middle East stop using the US dollar, it will be the end of the dollar. Not surprisingly, there has been numerous speculations that BRICS inducted oil-producing countries into the alliance last year to push the de-dollarization agenda, and this is very true. As you recall, Saudi Arabia started this whole petrodollar deal, and this is why the BRICS group extended an invitation to Saudi Arabia to join the alliance. Currently, however, Saudi Arabia is still weighing its options on whether or not to join the alliance. The kingdom is currently looking to boost its economy beyond the oil and gas segment, so it is weighing its options for being a part of the bloc and has yet to conclude its decision. Although Saudi Arabia has started testing using other currencies for its oil trade, Saudi Arabia's willingness to diversify the currencies used in selling its oil aligns with a larger strategy that requires the country to increase its international relations beyond the United States and Europe. This means that it is possible that Saudi Arabia might ditch the dollar in its oil trade, and if this happens, all other OPEC countries would follow suit, leading to a fall in the dominance of the dollar.
Okay, any comments on that? Okay. That's some need to know information right here. Like I said, all these things are to show you how close we are to a major shift in the world. Okay, here we go.
Hello, I'm CJ Wellerman, and in this week's episode, we reveal how fast-changing realities are forcing Israeli Jews to flee the Zionist state forever. But first, a quick reminder to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. Israel has failed to achieve any of its stated objectives in Gaza. It has not destroyed Hamas or other Palestinian resistance groups, and nor has it freed its remaining hostages. But even worse for the Zionist state, it not only stares down a war on all fronts, but also it has unintentionally united the Arab world against it, as illustrated by this stunning development last week, in which the Arab League removed Hezbollah from its classification of terrorist organizations, a classification that both it and the Gulf Cooperation Council gave to Hezbollah in 2016, when it accused the group of inciting sectarian violence in Syria, Yemen, and Iraq. This reclassification is Israel's worst nightmare coming to bear, because this is the collapse of its divide and rule strategy in the Middle East. Hamas set the trap for Israel, and Israel swallowed the bait, hook, line, and sinker. Its relentless and merciless genocide in Gaza has caused so much anger and humiliation in the Arab world that it's bearing the deep divides which emerged after the Arab Spring. This sudden turn of events threatens the very survival of the Jewish state, with ordinary Israeli citizens coming face to face with reality. The realization that Israel's colonial enterprise is on the brink of collapse. They aren't stupid. They see what's happening, which is why they are now fleeing the country in record numbers, with a new report showing that more than 500,000 have fled without plans for returning. This number is expected to double and even quadruple to 2 million Israelis fleeing the country within coming weeks as conflict against Hezbollah escalates along Israel's northern border. That 2 million from a total population of 7 million are planning to leave is the sum total of every Zionist's worst nightmare. But the message to Zionist Jews from the entire Middle East is this: don't let the door smack you on the ass on the way out. And yes, that sounds like unnecessary gloating, but it's important to understand that Israelis have only their government to blame, because this trend began well before October 7th, with a July 2023 survey finding that 28% had plans of leaving Israel out of fears that the country was headed towards civil war and violence due to internal political schisms.
If the situation will be so bad, it's worsening every day, we will find a place to live outside Israel. We all have European passports.
And others also think of emigrating, as hardline ministers push through highly controversial laws that would weaken oversight of the government by the courts.
Unfortunately, many of my friends check the options in other countries. I will not raise my kids in a country which is not democratic.
Today, Israelis are getting a taste of their own medicine, and by all accounts, they don't like it. And because the Middle East is not their native home, they are grabbing their American or European passports and heading quickly for the exits, telling a waiting journalist how terrifying it has become to illegally occupy another people's land.
I just had the worst experience of my life. I was 14 and I heard the rockets go off and my whole life changed.
This underscores the point that Palestinians have been yelling at the top of their voices for years, that Jewish settlers have the luxury of running to their countries of origin when times get tough, whereas Palestinians have nowhere else to go. This is their land, their indigenous homeland, and therefore they will defend it to the very last man, woman, and child, even when faced with genocide. The people of Gaza are going nowhere. Israel, on the other hand, is now faced with a massive shortfall of soldiers. It needs 10,000 new recruits immediately, which is why the Israeli Supreme Court ruled last week that ultra-Orthodox Jews must be subject to the military draft after decades of being exempt from military service. Now watch how Israeli forces treated those who protested the ruling. This is the manifestation of Zionist desperation. This is Israel on the verge of collapse. This is like watching the dying days of Nazi Germany when it forced young boys and old men to fight against the advancing Allied forces. Israel is done. It simply cannot cope with multiple wars on multiple fronts, while its young men and women dodge military conscription by taking extended vacations with their families in New York, London, and Paris. This is a lesson that Russia has learned during its occupation of Ukraine. Its men don't wish to die defending stolen land, which is why millions of Russians of military age are vacationing in Asia, forcing Putin to send jail criminals to the front lines. Which begs the question, what Jew in their right mind would want to move to Israel and fight for the Zionist army, given Israel is the most dangerous place in the world for Jews, and given Israeli soldiers are ordered to shoot their comrades in the back to prevent them from being taken captive? Israel's military recruitment crisis has been brewing for some time.
It's a rite of passage in Israeli society. When you turn 18, you serve mandatory military service. 2 years for women, nearly 3 for men. But for some young Jewish Israelis, something is changing.
When you think of Israel's military in one word, what do you think?
3 words, wrong side of history.
What about you?
Apartheid.
These teenagers are burning their draft letters, part of an unprecedented movement to refuse to join the army, for many, one of Israel's most cherished public institutions.
Our society is violent because everyone is holding a weapon.
Making matters worse for ordinary Israelis is the country's rapidly deteriorating economy. The currency is in freefall, tourism has dried up, the housing market has crashed, and gross domestic production has plummeted nearly 20%. The only metric that has improved is the unemployment rate. But this is because so many have quit their jobs, packed up their belongings, and fled the country, a reality that's seen more than 1 in 3 businesses close since the start of the year.
A lot of small businesses closed already because they didn't have the help and not a lot of work. We have here 3 or 4 restaurants and mini markets that.
Israel's economy is expected to go from bad to worse. The Jewish state is isolated diplomatically and culturally like never before, as it sits in the dock at The Hague for committing war crimes and crimes against humanity. So when you add all these pieces together, along with the wars it soon won't be able to fight, you come to understand why upwards of 2 million Jewish settlers plan to self-deport from Israel within the coming weeks and months. You might call this karmic or godly justice. Others might call it a new biblical exodus, but I liken the mass exodus of Jewish migrants from Palestinian land to a reverse Nakba. In other words, realities on the ground are encouraging Jewish migrants to leave, therefore invoking memories of how these same Jewish migrants forcibly expelled nearly 1 million Palestinians from their homes in 1948 to pave the way for a Jewish supremacist state. The irony couldn't be made starker, and karma is a bitter pill to swallow. I hope these fleeing Israelis take this lesson from history. I hope they take this moment to understand that their phony country is built on stolen land and constructed on killing, displacing, and dispossessing the indigenous Palestinian population.
Okay. Any comments on that?
Shalom, everyone. Brother Leonard, during the video, you noticed he kept saying Zionist, right?
Exactly.
Yes, I noticed he kept saying that, and at the end he said, a land that's not yours,
Okay.
So he's saying a lot in there, but a lot of people are overlooking that, thinking that they belong there, and they don't.
Exactly.
So he's not saying Zion is just to be saying it, because they ain't connected to Zion at all. So I really was paying attention to that as he was telling that story.
Right. And like I said before, you got so many people, Christians, that they say they're Christians, but they don't understand the framework of Christianity. So what these people have proclaimed is that they're the Israelites, and that the fig tree, the prophecy of the fig tree, when you see it bud, is the end times. So they're saying that Israel, the fig tree budded in 1948. So how are they leaving? How is all this happening? If this part of prophecy, how they leaving?
Right. Yes, sir.
It's crazy. So it's just everything that they didn't say it, and all the lies, it just come crashing down on them because there ain't nothing adding up now. People been saying it, but now it's right there in their face, and they still don't see it.
Yes, sir. Truly being revealed now. Yes.
Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, I wanted to open it up for some Q&A. Anybody have any questions, comments about anything they want to talk about, or thing they came across from last week?
Yes, sir. Shalom. I just wanted to make a little comment on the first video that you played concerning the mosquitoes. So again, you got to look at and I was trying to find that I had on the mosquitoes that Bill Gates had released back in 2021 or 2022 in Florida, Texas, in Brazil, the Cayman Islands, where these genetically modified mosquitoes that he released into the environment, right? So again, we're not paying attention to that. They're bringing it back to our attention. It was really in the media then, and people were really talking about it then, but now it's coming back on the scene because some of those mosquitoes that was being genetically modified were the mosquitoes that carried, the viruses. So even though they're saying that it was only a certain percentage, but still they were being genetically modified.
Right.
And it seems to where they really start to bring these type of things out and back to our attention around election time. It never fails.
Right. So if they let mosquitoes go back then, they letting them go now. It just ain't publicized.
Yes, sir. And he's always funding these labs that, have no problem with doing these things. And don't quote me on this. I think the lab was out of Britain or somewhere like that he funded to genetically modify these mosquitoes and then brought them over here and released them.
Right. And that's the big stink that's going on with the countries in Africa, is that all those same labs that got scattered all over Africa. That's where the uproar is coming from, and there too. So the game being exposed.
Everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So I have a video that I'm going to be sharing where this guy, this white man, he exposes why America is finished. And he says that they're going down. He says this empire is going down, but not without a fight. Because there's a perception that they have that they should always be on top, that they should always be the leaders of the known world. They will not surrender. He's going to break it down as to why they believe that they should be the leaders and how they don't even have it within them to try to cooperate with the next one or to even relinquish power to anyone else. It reminds me of the scripture when it says, the pride of your heart has deceived you. Anyway, take a listen. Take a listen. And of course, I will be right back. Listen to this bombshell.
Decided drivers here, get this off your low mileage lease on this 2020.
This be like us is over. This be like us, become like us is over. And that's what the Americans cannot understand. They still believe that they have to lead. That the world must be led by the Americans. And the reason they can't see it and they are in denial is that it's going down. Not the US as a state or a society, but as an empire. And all empires go down. There's no empire that has existed forever. So you may say the United States today is Titanic. The West is sitting as restaurants in Titanic, and the water is coming up around the windows. Now, instead of then reaching out and say, okay, our time is over, we will be one among many and we will cooperate with you, what they do is they insist on one thing, and that is to dominate by means of deception, untruths, narratives, and secondly, militarism. I would like to predict that this occasion, the United States will go the same way as the Soviet Union because it is militarizing itself to death. The Americans don't do diplomacy anymore. They send weapons. They pour in weapons because that's what they are best at. But no country can survive with just being strong in one sense, for instance, militarily. If you become politically weak, you become economically weak, you become psychologically weak, you become weak in terms of international law and legitimacy, then you are on your way down. A strong country is one which has high level on all power indicators and do not over-militarize and neglect the other power scales. The United States has, you can say, a MIMAC, military, industrial, media, academic complex. These are elites who have common interests with each other, such as producing weapons, selling weapons, using weapons, destroying countries, rebuilding countries again. But they do not have any common interest with the people in their countries. They're outside democratic control, and who said that? President Dwight D. Eisenhower in 1960, or 1 or 2, whenever he made his farewell speech. It's a very famous speech by a man who was a general himself, who said the United States has developed a military industrial complex. He didn't call it MIMAC as I do. And we need to put it under control to remain a democracy. What is undermined very, very clearly now is pluralist open media and our democracy in the West, because everything is now geared to warfare and militarism. More, more, more. There's nobody who stops to think. There's nobody who stops to think about the long-term consequences of pouring in weapons and never solving the conflicts. You just look at what goes on now in Israel. The country that has so much weaponry already, had nuclear weapons, had a special agreement with weapons with the United States, $5 billion a year, I don't know for how many years. What is the first reaction in Washington? We must transfer even more weapons to Israel. This is a sick society. It's a sick way of thinking. And of course, this whole thing has to do with, as I said before, the dream, unrealistic dream or illusion that if we can get rid of Russia as an opponent, and we have created that opponent ourselves because they have never invaded a NATO country, they hope that they can concentrate all NATO's resources on a Cold War or, God forbid, a hot war against China. You just go to NATO's homepage and you look at the threat perception. NATO is now characterized to be something like a church. You either believe in this nonsense or you don't.
Warrior mode in prayer and fasting and consecration, seeking the Most High, supplication, repenting, the whole nine. Father, teach us how to navigate. Show us what to do, what steps to take, and what moves to make as we navigate.
So, like I was saying before, what you're seeing now, and I've been screaming this forever and a day, is that scriptures ain't adding up. When you understand what these people done way back in Alexandria, Egypt, they did at the Council of Nicaea, they concocted all these lies, which is what the New Testament is. And what we're looking at today, right now, de facto, is that they ain't not lining up to the scriptures. Example, what I just showed you, that they said in 1948, Israel, the fig tree blossomed. And Israel came back. So we know that everything that's connected to that. That once they came back, the Messiah was coming, and they're gonna reign for 1,000 years and all this stuff. But we see right now, they're fleeing Israel. They're being overtaken. They're being destroyed. And not only that, they said America is the final beast. Babylon the Great is going to. It's the final empire on earth. When we're looking at, we just saw where the one is overtaking the dollar, and that America going down. We're looking at it go down, but we also see another country rising, which is China. And like I said before, that's not in scripture. They scriptures. And so what I'm getting ready to show you is where it's actually at. The truth of the matter is, it goes right along with what I've been saying. How they took our scriptures, our history, took it out, and they concocted their own history, and it was for them to rule, to do exactly what they're doing now. Have all the money, have all the wealth, especially so-called Zionists or the Jew, the Edomite. So what I'm gonna do right here is I'm gonna start out in Enoch chapter 69 and shine a light on that, because we see how Esau is the culprit in a lot of this. Like I said, the scriptures tell us that it's a woman decked in red that's controlling this four beast. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. She decked in red, and Edom is red. That's Esau. Esau is the woman. So how did Esau become the woman? When they stole the land of Israel. They stole the land of Israel, like the scriptures say, because they saw that God was there. They saw the Lord of hosts was there, so they wanted the land, and they ran the Israelites out way back in 143 BC when Antiochus came, the real Antichrist. So, with that being said, I want to go to this Enoch, and we'll see how this thing play out. I'm in Enoch chapter 69, right? A lot of people would assume that the ones that have, halfway know, would think that, this is some kind of recent event, but go way back to Enoch revealed it to us. So I'm in Enoch 69. Give me a minute, let me find it. Okay. Keep me there. I'm gonna read it. So I'm in chapter 69 of Enoch, and it says, "And after this the judgment, they shall terrify and make them to tremble, because they have shown this to those who dwell on the earth." So we're dealing with the fallen angels, 200 angels that came down, and they judgment. And then they're also going to reveal what it is they done, because a lot of it hadn't been actually exposed. So verse 2, "And behold, names of these angels, and these are their names. The first of them is Simjaza. The second is, I'm butchering these names, Arkophela. The third is Armin. The fourth is Kokabel. The fifth is Turiel. The sixth is Rumiel. And the seventh is Daniel. The eighth is Nequel. The ninth is Borquel. The 10th is Aziel. The 11th is Moros. The 12th is Bachajal. The 13th is Busajal. The 14th is Hanal. The 15th is Turiel. And the 16th is Simpazil. The 17th, Jitrel. The 18th, Tumel. The 19th, Turiel. The 20th, Jerumel. And the 21st is Aziel. So what I was just reading is, when you understand how that works, these were the leaders over thousands. So they got thousands of angels on each one of them. So they like the leaders. And then under them is what I'm getting ready to read, because it's like a military hierarchy, the way it works. And then verse 4 says, "These are the chiefs of the angels, and their names, and their chief ones over hundreds, and over 50s, and over 10s." And the name of this way get interesting. So the name of the first was Jaquan. This is the one who led astray. Notice what they done. This is the one who led astray all the sons of God. Check it out. "And brought them down to the earth, and led them astray through the daughters of men." So this angel right here, he the one coerced them from when they said they left their first estate. So in heaven, he coerced them. So now watch this, verse 6. "And the second was Ashabel. He imparted to the holy sons of God evil counsel." Check it out. "And led them astray, so that they defiled their bodies with daughters." So after they got down here, this is where this angel came in at. And he was used counsel and led them astray, so that they defiled their bodies with the daughters of men. Here in verse 7. "And the third was Gadriel." Check it out what Gadriel done. "It is he." I told you that name Satan is not a name, it's a title. So it says, "And the third was Gadriel. He it is who showed the children of men all the blows of death," right? "And he led astray Eve." Okay, let that frame. He the one that led Eve astray, "and showed the weapons of death to the sons of men," Tubal-Cain. and the coat of mail, and the sword for battle, and all the weapons of death to the children of men. So this right here, it's lining right up. And not only that, you can see where it says that he showed all the children of men the blows of death. So Cain killed Abel. Okay, and the Lord of hosts told him, sin lies at the door. Okay, verse 8. This is what I want to get to. And from his hands they have proceeded against those who dwell on the earth. From this angel hands, right, proceeded against those who dwell on the earth, or from that day and forevermore. Now here you go, the one I want to deal with. 9. And the fourth was named Pimeu, and he taught the children of men the bitter and the sweet. Right? Check it out. And he taught them all the secrets of their wisdom. So this is another wisdom, like I was telling you about. They want to put she on wisdom, and all this is another wisdom. Most I told them in Deuteronomy 30:32, don't deal with their wisdom. You know what I'm saying? So this ain't the wisdom that Solomon was dealing with, and David and them. This is some more wisdom, but we're gonna look at verse 10. And he, this angel, Premier, whatever his name is, he instructed mankind in writing. See that? With ink and paper. Okay? And thereby many sins. Check it out. And thereby many sins from eternity to eternity until this day. Now here you go. For men were not created. See that? Men were not created for such a purpose. For this right here. What he's teaching them. Writing and his knowledge, right? Men were not created for such a purpose. To give confirmation to their good faith with a pen and ink. So to create a religion using writing. Man wasn't created for that. So now we see where it's coming from. What they did at the council last year and all that, coming from here. These fallen angels. Read it again. And he instructed mankind in writing with ink and paper, and thereby many sins from eternity to eternity until this day. For men were not created for such a purpose. To give confirmation. See that? When they concocted the New Testament to give confirmation to JC. See that? They use pen and paper and ink from what these angels showed them how to make a religion. Anyway, so it says to give confirmation to good faith with pen and ink. Then 12. For men were created exactly like the angels. So here go another answer right here. This is a golden nugget. So we go to Genesis chapter 26. Genesis 1:26. It says, and they created man in their image. Let us go down and make man in our image, right? So you want to know who it is they're talking about. Well, right here, go to answer. For men were created exactly like the angels. Not like Yahweh, like the angels. Right? To the intent that they should continue pure and righteous. Check it out. To the intent that they might continue pure and righteous. So the angels live forever. So at first, they was created to live forever, right? And death, which destroys everything, could not have taken hold of them. So how did death take hold of them? But through this writing, what they gave them, through this, their knowledge, they are perishing. And through this power, it is consuming them. Did everybody hear? That's what I was saying earlier. When now we at the end, and the truth coming forth, you thinking it's just like everything else. You got a choice. I can do this. I can spurn that. Damn what that Negro talking about. I can spurn it. No, you can't spurn it. It's detrimental when you spurn the truth. So he says right here, and through this power, it is consuming them. So believing in a false God, dealing with the wrong God, dealing with a false God is detrimental to your health. Okay? 13. And the fifth was Cacazell. This is he who showed the children of men all the wicked smitings of the spirit and demons and the smiting of the embryo in the womb, right? So these angels did all this. Come on, all the way down to the day. What's the number one thing in the election? Abortions, women's rights. Here you go, right here. The smiting of the embryo in the womb, that it may pass away, and that smiting of the soul, the bites of the serpent, and the smiting of which befall through the noontide heat. The sons of the serpent named Tabit, and this is the task of Casabel, the chief of the oath, which he showed to the holy ones when he dwelt high in glory, and his name is Bikor, right? So there we go, right there. This is where writing, religion, all that came from, right here. This angel right here, Primiquel, whatever. He showed man how to, and when you write to divide that, you go to Egypt. We know that's where they went. They came to Mount Hermon, which is Shinar, and from there they went to Egypt and took them wives. That's where all the giants at. We know that because of Genesis chapter 10, 13 through 20. That's where all the giants at. That's how you get a giant. When an angel come down, they came down in Egypt, in that region. Okay? So that's where it all come from. That's how you get all the mystery system, the 50-year mystery system to be a priest of Amun and all that in Egypt. In Tahuti, the god of writing. Okay? So anyway, so like I said before, the title is Uncovering the End Times, right? So we see right now what they've been gave us in the New Testament ain't adding up with what's actually transpiring in the world. So I'm taking the liberty to show you where it's at. That's gonna line up. So now I'm gonna go to another place. Let me see where I need to go. I'm gonna go to Zechariah, right? Check it out. You tell me if it ain't adding up. Okay. I'm in Zechariah. I'm gonna read 9, 10, 11. Okay. 9, 10, and 14. So this is judgment on the neighboring nations, right? Now, if you ain't figured it out yet, we in judgment now, right? With everything that's happening on earth. The burden of the word of the Lord in the hands of Haderach and Damascus shall be the rest thereof, when the eyes of man, as of all the tribes of Israel, shall be toward the Lord. So we know last 2,500 years, our eyes ain't been toward the Lord. So this got to be after that when he bring us back. It says right here, now Israel's eyes is toward the Lord. And Hamath also shall border thereby Tarsus and Sidon, though it be a very wise. And Tarsus did build herself a stronghold, and heaped up silver as in dust, and fine gold as in the mirror of the streets. Behold, the Lord will cast her out. Okay, we're going to see who this is too. We're going to identify the Lord hosts in all this. Behold, the Lord will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and she shall be devoured with fire. Ashkelon shall see it and fear. Gaza also shall see it and be very sorrowful, and Ekron for her expectation shall be ashamed, and the king shall perish from Gaza, and Ekron shall not be inhabited. So let's give you a friendly reminder as we going. We saw when Simeon and I think it was Judah and Simeon went and killed all the men in Shechem when they defiled Dana, and Jacob was afraid because there was so many giants in the area that was akin to those Shechemites that he figured they was gonna come and overtake them. But immediately after those two boys killed all the men in that city, the Lord's fear came over all the rest of those giants, all the rest of those nations. Fear came over them. And that's what Negroes are understanding today. They looking at stuff on a physical plane, not looking at that who the God is of Israel and what he's capable of doing and what he done in the past. So he put a fear in them. Nobody moved, nobody did nothing. We see the same thing right here. Say, the Lord will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and she shall be devoured with fire. Then all the surrounding nations, Ashkelon, shall see it and fear. Gaza also shall see it and be very sorrowful, and Ekron, for her expectations, shall be ashamed, and the king shall perish from Gaza, and Ashkelon shall be inhabited. So you say, what are you talking about? Well, if you going by what these people are saying, when the Israelites, as many Israelites it was in Egypt, when the time came for them to come out, the Egyptians would have killed them. But then he put the fear on the Egyptians, and they came out. Same thing here, because these people beginning to come in an uproar. We see all the riots over in Egypt, over in UK. All these people coming up against black folks. They ain't gonna do shit to them, because we see what our God capable of doing. Right here. Just like they gave us, they spoiled the Egyptians. The Lord of hosts can't make them bring ships to the sea coast for us to leave. Put the fear on them, but they don't do nothing. They lose their vows. Come on. So anyway, 7, and I will take away, look at this, I will take away his blood out of his mouth and his abomination from between his teeth. See that? But he that remaineth, even he shall be our God, and he shall be as a governor in Judah, at Ekron as a Jebusite, and I will encamp. See that? I will encamp about mine house because of the army, and because of him that passeth by, and because of him that returneth, and no oppressor. Keep that word in mind, because I'm finna bust your head wide open in this next scriptures I read, right? I will encamp about mine house because of the enemy, because of him that passeth by, because of him that returneth, and no oppressor shall pass through them and any more. For now have I seen with mine eyes. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, the king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, and lowly, riding upon an ass, upon the coat of an ass, the foal of an ass. So like I said before, now with the proper information, these scriptures ain't adding up. They've been using this verse right here, Zechariah 99, for years, saying it's this JC. Okay, 10. And I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim, and the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace unto the heathen, and his dominion shall be from sea even in the sea, and from the river even unto the ends of the earth. As for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant, I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit, wherein there was no water. Turn ye to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. When I have bent Judah, check it out. When I have bent Judah for me, see that? Fill the bow with Ephraim. Raise up thy sons, right? Not afflict them. Raise up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, Gentiles. That's where we at. And make thee as the sword of a mighty man, and the Lord shall be seen. Check it out. The Lord shall be seen over them, and his arrows shall go forth as lightning, and the Lord God, see that? Saying Yahweh, the Lord God shall blow the trumpet. Now you let that ferment. Yahweh blowing the trumpet, but ain't none of him. See that? And the Lord God shall be seen over them, and his arrows shall go forth as lightning, and the Lord God shall blow the trumpet. It's the same Lord God that made Abraham and all them. Yahweh ain't blowing no trumpet. See that? We already know who's blowing the trumpet. So anyway, He says to blow the trumpet and shall go forth with a whirlwind up to the south. And the Lord of hosts shall defend them. See that? Lord of hosts shall defend them. Not your house shot. And they shall devour and subdue with sling stones, and they shall drink and make a noise and through wine they shall be filled like bowls and as the corners of the altar. And the Lord, see that? Lord of hosts, that God shall save them in that day as the flock of his people. See that? Go to Isaiah 53. See that? So the Lord their God, the Lord of hosts, their God shall save them. Save them. Okay? Let that firmate. Save them in the day as the flock of his people, for they shall be as stones of a crown. What stone? The stone that struck the image that Daniel told us about. At the end, they tell you that JC. So he says, as stones of a crown lifted up as an ensign upon his land. For how great is the goodness and how great is his beauty. Corn shall make the young men cheerful and new wine made. Like I said, none of that's adding up with what they got in the New Testament. Okay, let me read verse chapter 10. So this is the Lord's redemption for his people. Ask ye of the Lord, rain in the time of the latter rain. So the Lord shall make bright clouds and give them showers of rain to everyone grass in the field. For the idols, including Yahushua, have spoken vanity, and the diviners have seen a lie, and have told false dreams. They comfort in vain. Therefore, they went their way as a flock, and they were troubled because there was no shepherd. My anger was kindled against the shepherds, and I punished the goats. For the Lord of hosts, see that? The Lord of hosts have visited his flock, the house of Judah, and he have made them as a goodly horse in battle. See that? That don't sound like no affliction to me. Don't sound like no affliction coming, right? Out of him came forth the corner. Out of him the nail. Out of him the battle bow. Out of him every oppressor together. And they shall be as mighty men which tread down their enemies. See that? Tread down their enemies in the mirror of the streets in battle, and they shall fight because the Lord is with them. And the riders on horses shall be comforted. And I will strengthen the house of Judah, and I will save the house of Joseph. See that? That's southern and the northern and the southern kingdom. And I will bring them again to the place and place them, for I have mercy upon them, and they shall be as though I had not cast them off. See that? Let that firmate. They shall be as though I had not cast them off. Well, before he cast us off, we was kicking gold and silver and rubies and diamonds all around on the ground. So he says, they shall be as though I had not cast them off. For I am the Lord their God, and I will hear them. And they of Ephraim shall be like a mighty man, and their hearts shall rejoice as through wine. Yea, their children shall see it. Their children, that's us. Their children shall see it, be glad. Their hearts shall rejoice in the Lord, and I will hiss for them. Yeah, ain't nothing we got to do. I will hiss for them and gather them. I have redeemed them, and they shall increase as they have increased. And I will sow them among the people, and they shall remember me in far countries, and they shall live with their children and turn again. And I will bring them again also out of the land of Egypt, gather them out of Assyria, and I will bring them into the land of Gilead and Lebanon, and a place shall not be found for them. And he shall pass through the sea with affliction, and shall smite the waves of the sea, and all the deeps of the river shall dry up, and the pride of Assyria will be brought down, and the scepter of Egypt shall depart away, and I will strengthen them in the Lord, and they shall walk up and down in his name, saith the Lord. See that? Now let's go to 14. Let these scriptures formate. So this is Jerusalem and the nations. So this the Lord, Israel Redeemer, they Savior, Lord of hosts, Michael, the archangel, right? Behold, the day of the Lord coming, and thy spoils shall be divided in the midst of thee. Just like they spoiled the Egyptians and the Babylonians, right? For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city will be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity, and the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth, fight against these nations, as when he fought in the day of battle, and his feet shall, check it out, right? And his feet shall stand that day upon the Mount of Olives. Let that firmate. His feet shall stand upon, Lord of hosts' feet shall stand upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a valley, a great valley. Half of the mountains shall be removed toward the north, and the half of the mountains toward the south. And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach even unto Azal. Yea, ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzzah, king of Judah, and the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee. So what's a saint? Somebody that's dead and raised up. It's Ezekiel 37:6. And it shall come to pass in that day that the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall be one which shall be known to the Lord, not day nor night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. And it shall be in that day that the living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them toward the former sea, and half of them toward the hinder sea. In the summer and in the winter shall it be. Now here we go, right here, in case you was wondering. And the Lord shall be king over Israel, over all the earth, Lord of hosts. So you say, you're adding it, right? And the Lord of hosts, and the Lord shall be king over all earth. In that day shall there be one Lord. See that? And his name one. See that? All the land shall be turned as a plain from Geba to Rimmon, south of Jerusalem, and it shall be lifted up and inhabited in a place from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate, unto the corner gate, and from the tower of Hanal unto the king's wine press, and men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction. See that? But Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. And this shall be the plague. Check it out. This shall be the plague wherewith the Lord will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongue shall consume away in their mouth. And it shall come to pass in that day that a great tumult from the Lord shall be among them. There we go. Same thing he did when the two brothers killed all the Shulamites. Say, a great tumult from the Lord. You're going to put them on freeze frame, right? The great tumult from the Lord shall be among them. And they shall lay hold everyone on the hand of his neighbor, and his hand shall rise up against the hand of his neighbor. And Judah shall fight at Jerusalem, and the wealth of all the heathens round about shall be gathered together, gold, silver, apparel, in great abundance. See that? And so shall be the plague of the horse, of the mule, of the camel, and of the ass, and of all the beasts that shall be in these tents as a plague. And it shall come to pass, right, that everyone that is left of all the nations which came against Jerusalem shall even go up from year to year to worship the King, the Lord of hosts. See that? I ain't write it. To worship the King, the Lord of hosts, and to keep the Feast of Tabernacles, right? And it shall be that whosoever will not come up of all the families of the earth unto Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord of hosts, even upon them shall be no rain. And if the family of Egypt go not up and come not, come not that have no rain, there shall be plagues wherewith the Lord will smite the heathen. They come not up to keep the feast of the tabernacle. So like I said before, all this will add up. This adds up right here. This is what we at. We at the beginnings of this. We looking at it. We already see his hand in it. So here go the doozy right here. I'm in the book of the Wisdom of Solomon in the Apocrypha, right? Tie his shoes up. I'm in the Apocrypha. Chapter 5, Wisdom of Solomon. You know, you do you good to read the whole, all 19 chapters, but I'm gonna read this right here. Chapter 5. And I'm gonna let you call it from there, right? So I'm in chapter 5, verse 1. Here you go. Then the upright man, this is the end times. Then the upright man will stand with great boldness, right? Then the upright man will stand with great boldness, face to face with his oppressor. There we go. Back to the oppressor. We know who the oppressor is, and we know who the slave is, right? So it says, then the upright man will stand with great boldness, face to face with his oppressor, and with those who set his labor at naught. Come on. Right? We've been crying for reparations forever and a day for the labor they didn't pay us for. So here you go. Then the upright man will stand with great boldness, face to face with the oppressor. We saw that at the DNC last week. They standing up about what you owe them. Reparations. Says, then the upright man will stand with great boldness, face to face with his oppressor, and with those who set his labor at naught. They will be dreadfully dismayed at the sight, right? And amazed at the unexpectedness of his deliverance. They will talk to themselves in repentance. You see that all over the internet. They repent. And in their distress of mind, they will groan and sigh. This is the man we fools once laughed at and made a byword and a reproach. That's Deuteronomy 28. We thought his life was madness and his end was dishonor. How did he come to be reckoned among the sons of God? And why is it this Solomon talking, prophesying? And why is his lot? See that? Lot. He told Daniel, go thy way, go to sleep, rest, die, and stand up in your lot in the last days, right? And why is his lot among the saints? See that? I just told you what a saint was. Then we must have wandered from the true path, right? Because you concocted JC, you concocted Christianity. Took away the true path, right? So, and the light of uprightness did not light on us, and the sun did not rise upon us. We were full of the paths of lawlessness and destruction, and traveled through trackless deserts. But we did not recognize the Lord's road. See that? What good did our arrogance do us? And what have wealth and obstination done for us? They have all passed away like a shadow and like a messenger running by, like a ship crossing the billowing the water. And when it is gone through, is no track to be found, or a path that it is keen in a way, it kills in the waves, or as when a bird flies through the air, it leaves no sign of its passage. The light air, whipped by the beat the beat of his wings, and torn apart by the force of his speed, it traverses as if wings move, and afterward no sign of his passage is found there. So what we these examples right here is telling you all that we done dealt with, all these folks have done. When the Most High get through with them, it ain't gonna be as it never even happened. For to sit around and worry about it, it ain't gonna be like he said. He's gonna restore everything that was we had. It's gonna be as if we never lost it. Okay, so we ain't got nothing to do. So anyway, he says, so that his course is unknown. So we also, as soon as we are born, these wicked folks talking cease to be, and had no sign or virtue to show, but were consumed in our wickedness. For the ungodly man, hope is like chaff carried by the wind. So go to Daniel, the stone at the end, that strike the beast at the end, turn into chaff and blow away like it was never there. The four beasts. And when you understand what the four beasts is, it's a combination of the first, second, and third beast. So when the Most High get through with them, it's gonna be like those four beasts never even came. Water on a duck back. Okay? So it says, and like a hard frost driven away by a storm, it is dissipated. See that? Like smoke before the wind, and passes by like the memory of a stranger who stays but one night. But the upright live forever, and their reward is with the Lord. See that? Not Yahushua. Their reward is with the Lord, Lord of hosts. And the Most High takes care of them. Therefore, they will receive the glorious kingdom. Right? Let me read that. See, let me read that right quick. What is the glorious kingdom? Okay, go to Daniel right quick. Okay. So it says, Daniel chapter 7, verse 4. But the judgment is set, and they shall take away his dominion, and the vision of the evening and the morning was told is true. Wherefore shut up the so let me keep going. 8. Okay. Okay. Give me a minute. Okay, yeah, I know what it said. In chapter 8. Yeah. Let me come back here. I'll find it. It's eluding me right now. So anyway, I was in Wisdom of Solomon, and I was at verse 16, 5 and 16 of Wisdom of Solomon. Therefore, they will receive a glorious kingdom and the beautiful demidon from the Lord's hand, and he will cover them with his right hand and seal them with his arm, and he will take his jealousy from his armor, and he will make creation his weapon to repulse his foes. So let's look at this right quick, because this is big. So it says, this is the Lord of hosts, right? He will, when he come to judge the nations in the last days, he will make creation his weapons to repulse his foes. So what he's talking about? The 10 plagues, same way he did the 10 plagues. He used creation as a weapon. Frogs, locusts. So now right here, we see who it is that came to Egypt. That he will put on uprightness for a corselet. He will wear unfringed justice for a helmet, and he will take holiness for an invisible shield, and sharpen his stern anger for a sword. And with him, the world will go to war against the madman. Well-aimed flashes of lightning will fly and will leap to the mark from the clouds, and as from a well-bent bow, and from a catapult, hailstones full of wrath will be hurled, and the water of the sea will be angry with them, and the rivers will roll relentlessly over them. Tsunami, mighty winds will oppose them. Winnows with them like a tempest, and lawlessness will lay waste the whole earth, and wrongdoing overturn the thrones of princes. Listen, therefore, kings, and understand. Learn this. See that? Solomon told us this. Learn this. Judges of the ends of the earth. Pay attention, rulers of the people, who boast of the multitude of nations. For your dominion was given you from the Lord. Not Yahweh, right? From the Lord. And your sovereignty from the Most High. He will examine your works. This is where we at. He will examine your works and inquire in your plans. For though you are a servant of this kingdom, you have not judged rightly or kept the law, right? JC came to do away with the law, or kept the law, or followed the will of God. He will come upon you terribly and swiftly for a stern judgment. Overturn those in high places, for the humblest man may be forgiven through mercy, but the mighty will be mightily tested. For the Lord of all will show no partiality and will not represent greatness. He will not respect greatness. For it was he, check it out, it was he who made small and great, and he takes thought for all alike. But the rigorous iniquity is the store for the powerful. My words are addressed to you, therefore, you monarchs, so that you may learn wisdom and not go astray. For those who observe holy things in holiness will be made holy. That's the Israelites. And those who are taught them will have a defense to offer, to desire my words. Long for them, and you will be instructed. Wisdom is bright and unfading, and she is easily seen by those who love her, and found by those who reach for her. She forestalls those who desire her by making herself known first. The man who rises early to seek her will not have to toil, for he will find her sitting at his gate. For to think of her in the highest understanding, and the man who is vigilant for her sake will soon be free from care. For she goes about in search of those who are worthy of her, and graciously appears to them in their paths, and meets them in every thought. For trust beginning, for the truest beginning of her is the desire of instruction. So I'm gonna stop right there. So, like I said before, this the end times, what we just read, what they gave us over the New Testament, and we already see it ain't adding up. Any questions, comments? Anybody have any questions or comments?
No, sir.
Okay, so if you want to go back and look at it for yourself, I read Enoch 69. I read Zechariah 9, 10, and verse 4, and chapter 14. And then I read out of the Wisdom of Solomon, which is in the Apocrypha books. And we recently got the 54 book Apocrypha, so it's in there too. So it's chapter 5. But all of that Wisdom of Solomon is prophecy, is lining up with the end times. Okay, so with that being said, anybody got any questions, comments before we go?
Shalom. Just saying thank you for sharing the information.
Okay. So with that being said, I want to say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. Okay. Tomorrow we have we got our we'll read through the Tanakh tomorrow. So with that being said, I want to say, okay, let me get this. Okay, computer tripping. Shalom.
Shalom, shalom, everyone.
Shalom, everyone.